I'd like to call this meeting to order. If everyone could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Rogers. Present. Trustee Reinders. Present. Trustee Pazmino.
Present.
Trustee Consolino. Present. Trustee Fialco.
I think he's on the.
Yeah, he should be on. He is on. Looks like you're muted.
Oh, he's on there.
Still says you're muted on the screen. What screen are you looking at? If you put your mouse towards the top.
Trustee Fialco.
I can hear you on this phone, but not on your phone. What's the option if you want to try and talk into your speaker? Yes. Well, are you using a computer microphone?
Is this on?
Okay. You could also dial in using your
That on?
Okay. Yeah, if you go to the top. Yep.
Oh, yeah. We maybe just move on and then he can.
He's just dialing in now.
Phone off? Oh, I turned that off. I think. Yeah, I don't know. I just. Should we proceed and then with him or?
Hopefully we get this done pretty quick.
I can change that.
Okay, if you speak, we'll be able to hear you.
Okay. I'll hang up this line.
Great.
Fialco is present.
All right.
Trustee Laha? Present. Mayor Yukich?
Present. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to propose that we table I-6. This ordinance has the potential to change our form of government. We're in the process of reaching out to the Attorney General to get an opinion as to whether this can be done without a referendum. There are past opinions that have been made that this type of change needs to go out to the residents in the form of a referendum. I think we would be jumping the gun to do this prior to getting that opinion back, especially if we're taking our residents' right to be heard on it in the form of a referendum away from them, and it's just not right. It's not fair to the residents of Homer Glen if this is something that should be going to a referendum and isn't. I therefore request that I-6 be tabled until such opinions have been received.
Do I have a second?
I'd like to hear from our
I would like
legislative
to,
counsel.
I was just going to say, I'd like to hear from our council.
Pardon?
What's your opinion? Carrie, thank you.
The ordinance does not change the form of government. First of all, the village manager is not an officer or an elected official of the village of Homer Glen. And the village manager's position was created by ordinance, and the ordinance it was created by is the exact same ordinance which you as a village board under your home rule authority now are voting to amend. So there's a motion to table that's been presented and seconded. There's no discussion or argument on a motion to table, so you should vote on the motion to table. If you ask my advice, I would tell you, you do not have to table this particular ordinance for any reason at this point in time.
There was no second that I
Oh,
recall.
there was no second?
No.
If there is no second, then the motion fails for lack of a second.
That's a travesty.
I'd like to address, though, the question of whether or not this should go to a referendum.
Can we bring that up when it's up, or?
Or, yeah, I was going to say, is that discussion for?
It is now, it looks like. When it's time.
Yeah,
I'll be glad to answer when it's
Oh, yeah,
before
I'm sorry,
you, or
trustee Leclerc, I mean, go ahead.
if you want me to answer. There's no requirement to present this to referendum at this point in time. It was not presented for referendum at the point in time when the position was created by ordinance. There is no requirement that this particular ordinance be presented for referendum to be changed, okay? If you were changing the duties or eliminating an office completely, an office or an officer, that may be a different situation, but that's not what you're doing here. You're just changing the way the village manager is hired and probably the way discipline can be imposed with respect to the office of the or the position of the village manager. That's all you're doing.
Well, I
you,
do
sir.
know that there's been 2 opinions written by the Attorney General that don't agree with you, and home rule villages.
Point of order, this should be during discussion, am I correct?
This is discussion right now, and you opened it up.
Technically,
didn't
there was
open it up.
never a second, so there should have been no discussion.
Exactly, thank you.
We'll wait till I-6 comes around. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of July 14th, 2021 Village Board meeting?
So moved.
Second?
If I may, there looks like there was a typo or a mistake on my end. Under public comment, it looked like 2 of the people that had spoke, their comments were deleted on, I don't know how that happened, but I would like to either bring this back with their 2 comments in there. Everything else seems to be okay, but for some reason, those 2 comments just didn't appear. Don't know what happened, if I hit delete by mistake or what. Just so you know. You can either approve with me making those adjustments, or you can table it and come back to it.
We'll just table it and come back to it.
Yeah.
Whatever you
Can I
want.
get a second to table?
Second.
Okay, so Rosie made the motion, and
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of September 8th, 2021 Village Board meeting?
So moved.
I'm sorry, is it September 8th or 9th?
9th.
It says September 8th.
What's the correct date? 8th or 9th?
I think it was the 8th. So that's got to get changed.
the meeting was September 8th. I'm sorry, September 8th.
Okay.
I got read. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the minutes?
And just so you know, I wasn't trying to correct you. It just says on our cover sheet that it was September 9th. That's what I was referring to.
Looks like another mistake. I'll handle that. I'm batting 1,000.
Yep. All right. Well, I'll just correct them. It is the 8th.
Okay.
Yeah. Madam Clerk, could you please call the vote?
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Laha?
Aye.
And Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
All right. Next is reports and communications. Last week I was notified that Matthew Zerbakazaz has resigned from the village's Plan Commission. I thank him for his service to the village. There is now a vacancy in the Plan Commission. This is a great opportunity for a resident to help shape the future of Homer Glen. If there are any residents interested in the position, please contact interim village manager Matt Walsh. More information about the position will be posted on the village's website. Halloween. Halloween is being celebrated on Sunday with trick-or-treat hours from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Remember, drive slowly and watch out for all the costumed children. Next, we'll go to the trustees, and we'll start with Trustee Consolino.
Thank you, Mayor. I really don't have any report for tonight, but I would like to say thank you to everyone for trunk or treat. It was a huge success. So thank you to both our staff and to our elected officials that helped out with that. That's it.
Thank you. Trustee Laha?
Okay. Reporting on behalf of the Ability Awareness Committee, our next meeting is November 2nd. We plan to discuss the results of the surveys that went out and start to discuss our plan of making sure we meet those needs and those concerns within the realm of our committee. The surveys are going to stay on the website, so they're going to be there for input that you'd want to get a hold of us or things that you'd like to suggest. We'll also be having 2 guest speakers at the meeting on November 2nd, Mike Seelip from the Northern Will County Special Rec Association and Brandon Adjumani. The committee will also be in attendance, set up with a table for the Veterans event on Sunday, November 7th with our surveys and some sweet treats on hand. So come say hello, and if you want to volunteer with us, please let me know. Rose is going to give a more full parks report, but we did talk about some park signage that we felt was important, and the committee was really adamant on keeping that traditional feel of our signs and making sure that it stays within the branding that Homer Glen has decided on. They also feel that the park rules signs should be updated to make sure they include the address of the park as well as emergency and non-emergency numbers for quick reference should there be an emergency that arises. And that is my report right now.
Thank you. Trustee Rogers?
No report.
Thank you. Trustee Pasmino?
Thank you, sir. I have nothing for my committees, but I would like to thank the village staff for putting out this spectacular brochure. Really represents our village, and best of all, I look great in it, so thank you guys for that. You picked a good picture. And aside from that, thank you to the Sheriff's Office, Lieutenant Holly, for taking care of that situation, that if you haven't heard about it, that means he took care of it very well, and that's why you don't know. So thank you very much, sir. We really appreciate it. And that's all I have.
Trustee Renders?
On October 18th, we had our Parks meeting, and at that time, Russell Knack brought a semi-pro soccer player to the meeting to stress to us how important it was for us to start looking at some spaces for some soccer fields within Homer Glen. The committee discussed it, and we will definitely be looking at some potential sites, including Heritage Park and some of the surrounding parks that we've acquired from the township. Myself and Trustee Laha discussed with the committee also changing the master plan for the parks, and we talked about what we're looking at is a combination splash pad ice arena so that we can use it at both times of the year. So that was one of our things, and we're actually going to be working with some consultants, some landscape designers to help us with that. Coordinator Blank gave us a presentation on all of the parks. She went around and took pictures of all the parks so that all the members of the committee would be able to take a look at them. And we, at that time, decided that we definitely need to come up with a strategy for the parks. What needs to be maintained? We know that the village, that the township is going to be maintaining the parks until the 1st of May for 2022, but at that, we need to have a plan moving forward. So that's part of what we're talking about in our master plan, is to be able to bring all of this together and have a master plan for all the parks. And we thought that would be a really good time to update the master plan. Let's see. We also agreed, all of us agreed on the original sign. We love our original sign that's carved for Homer Glen. So at this time, we're going to start looking at some pricing to get those signs for all of the parks, including the parks for the township. Right now, we're concentrating on our Homer for the holidays, and the committee has in the budget about $21,000, and we decided that we are going to, we decided on a couple new ornaments and Christmas decorations for the park. So this year, the Heritage Park for Christmas is going to be great. We're going to have ice sculptures, excuse me, ice sculpting, carolers, Christmas characters, Santa, and the tree lighting. So please mark your calendars for that. Something new that was brought to us on November 14th, the William Young PTO will hold its first turkey trot in Heritage Park. Now, moving forward, we're getting more and more requests on using the park. So what we decided was that we have to have something in place for an application and pricing for people that do want to use the park. So that's something that that's also on our agenda. And Trunk or Treat, yes, was a great success. Trustee Laha, if she didn't mention, she did win. Her car was amazing. The kids looked awesome. Everybody was dressed so cute. We need to give her a big hand for that. Thank you. And just a reminder on November 7th from 12 to 3 is the Veteran Celebration at Konos. So mark your calendars for that as well, or you could even check their website for details. And one thing that we discussed, that I did discuss with Matt today, we were getting a lot of questions on whether or not there was going to be a park in the new subdivision or new development that was going to be coming up on 143rd and Old Oak there. There is going to be a park in there, so please, everybody remember that. There's going to be a park in there. That was a lot of questions were raised about that at our last park meeting. So we just want to guarantee everybody that yes, there is going to be a park there. And let's see what else. Our meeting was very long. It actually went till after 8:30. So with that, that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Fialco?
No report, sir.
Thank you, sir. Next would be village clerk,
No report.
village attorneys.
No report, Your Honor.
Second attorney? No report. Public safety officials?
No report, Your Honor.
Interim village manager?
No report.
Thank you. Next is public comment. Joe, do we have anyone that signed up for it? Thanks, Joe. Brent Porfilio?
Brent Porfilio, Homer Township Highway Commissioner, 14500 West 151st Street in Homer, Glen. Thank you, Mayor and Homer Glen trustees, for allowing me to have a couple minutes here. In about 8 weeks, I have to file the tax levy for next year for the road district. And in order to do that, there's a few things I still need from Homer Glen. I had asked a few weeks ago a scheduled costs for labor and material. I know I've gotten a little bit of it, but I guess I'm looking for something in writing that's approved by maybe the mayor or the trustees or whoever, so I can figure that in my budget. And also, I talked about getting a commitment letter for the salt. I have 3,000 tons of salt that the road district has committed to for you guys, so I don't have to sell it to somebody else or spend unnecessary money on it. If you could please give me a commitment letter for that so I can take it out of my budget. With respect to various discussions we've all had in emails this past week about the salt, I just wanted to clarify. I spoke with Daryl Kirk from Skyline to try to get an explanation of the contract. The 2-year contract for salt for the road district was from a Frankfort Township Road District co-op. So a lot of the local road districts entered into a co-op with Frankfort to get a bid from Champion Salt and Skyline 2 years ago, and it was around $100 a ton, and it was for blended salt, by the way. And this co-op was restricted only to the road districts that were in the co-op, so any municipalities were not allowed to enter it per Illinois state law. And this is what I heard from Daryl Kirk, who works for Skyline. So I hope that straightens out a few things that we were discussing this past week. Moving forward, I would suggest for next year's winter, since the contract will be null and void, perhaps Homer Glen should pursue 2 bids, one for raw salt and one for blended salt. The raw salt you can probably get for $20 to $25 less a ton, so you can save a lot of money there, because not all the storms require the blended salt. I was locked in this year, so there's nothing we could do about it. We didn't have an opportunity to get any raw salt, so that's why we had to do it that way this year. What else? Lastly, while you're developing your budget for next year, if you need any historical data from the road district, I'd be more than happy to provide it for you. I know it's tough the first year to decide what everything is going to cost and the history of it, so we got a lot of numbers for you if you need it. That's all I had. Thanks. God bless.
Sharon Sweets?
Thank you, Mayor. Homer Glen residents need to know what is going on with this new board. Ever since incorporation, the village had one style of government which worked well for all the previous mayors, board members, and residents. Now, with less than 6 months on the board, certain trustees want to change all that to ensure their complete control over everything and heavily rely on taxpayer-funded additional legal counsel, using him as their personal attorney. Are you really serving the residents or just interested in your own agenda? The only thing that some of you have done well was to create a toxic and hostile work environment with your unfounded accusations and verbal abuse against staff. So you can try to justify your future actions as you clearly have an agenda and/or alternative motives. We see it all. Staff works hard and is dedicated to serving the village and its residents. Are you doing the same? Some of you have called the former trustees bleeding hearts. It doesn't bother me, as my heart does bleed for what you're doing to this village and staff. I guess there's a saying that goes, to test someone's true character, just give them power, and that holds true for this board. Thank you.
Margaret Sable.
Mayor Yukich and board members, a great number of people who work to create Homer Glen and those who have served this village over the years are very disappointed to learn of the attitude and actions of some of the present trustees on the village board. After watching video recordings of village board meetings, viewers can witness the abuse of authority by some trustees because they know they have a majority. Referring to agenda item I6, ordinance 21-043, regarding position, appointment, discipline, termination pertaining to village manager, why change something that has worked for 20 years when the majority of trustees lack experience, having served only a short number of months? It is too early to know what to change and then have the people who live and work here bear the consequences. In what direction are some trustees trying to take this municipality? Are there ideas being proposed in order to advance some personal interests? And do they also represent special interests of others who want to influence them? Try building on the foundation and accomplishments of those elected officials who served during the 20 years of village life. Then continue to improve and strive for good and fair government and values for all. It seems some trustees want to destroy the good work of many, many volunteers who gave their time and talents willingly. The visual recordings of the Village of Homer Glen board meetings illustrate that some trustees show a lack of respect for others on the board who do not agree with them. Ignoring proper procedure and the position of the chair signals that some trustees want lots of control. Why did some trustees vote to hire a second attorney group to represent only themselves? The taxpayers, residents, should know how they are paying for this expensive duplication. Perhaps the Homer Glen residents should hire their own attorney group to represent the remaining population and build a village for it too. Among the negative and damaging ideas that have been brought to light, what is in store for the rest of us in the future? And I am Margaret Sabo, former trustee, 2001 to 2015. Thank you.
That's it for public comment. Consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. Is there a motion to approve the following items? 1, the accounts payable for the period of October 15th, 2021 through October 28th, 2021 in the amount of $619,170.23. And 2, the treasurer's report of cash and investments for the period ending September 30th, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Should do a roll call. That's all right. Christine, could you do roll?
Trustee Laha?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Motion carries. Legislation and action items. 1, approval of a reimbursement grant award under the Commercial Building Improvement Grant Program to Bell Tower Plaza LLC for eligible improvements. Is there a motion to approve a reimbursement grant award under the Commercial Building Improvement Grant Program to Bell Tower Plaza LLC for the eligible improvements of 15764 South Bell Road in the amount of $7,250.
So move.
Second.
Rose and Beth.
Who was the second?
Trustee Rogers.
Actually, I think it was,
Okay.
First was Rose, the second was, and then you came in second.
never mind.
Is there any discussion?
Yes, sir. Again, I think that this is a fantastic idea, and I would like to commend our Economic Development Committee for developing and spearheading this program. I think that this is truly a breath of fresh air for our businesses and our property owners, and I'm sure that there are a lot of local businesses out there with much-needed updates, and this will help them draw in more customers and ultimately more revenue, and in the end, benefiting our community. So great job, guys. Thank you.
Okay. Special, is there a motion to, whoops, oh, roll call. No.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Laha?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
And Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Is there a motion to approve a special event permit for the first annual Young PTO Turkey Trot to be held at Heritage Park on November 14th, 2021?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Laha?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of spending allotted funds for the holiday light display for Homer for the Holidays. Is there a motion to approve spending the allotted funds in the Community Activities and Events Fund to add to the holiday light display for Homer for the Holidays? It is understood the amount will not exceed $21,500.
So move.
Second.
Rose was first, and I don't know who did second it. I heard two at the same time.
Nicole.
Okay. Any discussion?
Yes, sir. And I know I'm going to get a lot of slack for this, but I am in A&F, and none of this went through us, and I just want to put that out there. Now, believe me, I'm the first guy that loves pizzazz and lights and all that stuff. I get it. But on the same agenda, we have a presentation and preliminary discussion on a 2021 tax levy. So anytime I see expenses that aren't really necessary, I get kind of freaked out. And especially when I have a tax levy on the agenda. So I just wanted to put that out there. And is there a reason this didn't go through A&F?
Well, Trustee Pazmino, this is an event that's traditionally been run by or kind of started with Parks and Recreation Committee. They're another committee that can make recommendations on purchases or on things related to the parks. And also, this came up a few weeks ago, right before the Parks and Recreation Committee meeting, so we didn't want to wait much longer for it to go to A&F because obviously our event will be coming up in early December.
And kind of the reason I'm asking is because I remember before the new board came in, we spent, I think it was about 25 grand on Christmas ornaments that were put through and actually didn't go through the board, but it was passed anyway. I'm wondering how much more lighting do we need?
These are not
How
just
much?
lights.
How much more do you?
I mean,
You mean light in terms of
I
lights?
mean for the Christmas ornaments, how much more do we need? I mean, I think
We have a
what we
pretty
got is
big
awesome.
park. We have a 103-acre park.
I know, I'm just saying. Just put it out there.
Isn't the idea also for us to compete with other local entities for Christmas?
No, this is for our residents that live here
Yeah.
and pay for everything here, and that's what it's all about. It's about the people that live here, their kids, anyone that wants to come in.
And it's budgeted, right, Mayor? It's budgeted for every year.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Well said.
I knew I was gonna get beat up on it.
I'd also point out that part of this was is going to be funded by a grant from ComEd.
I was just going to say, we have a grant for ComEd that is taking care of a lot of this, and we're also not spending the full allotted 21,000.
25,000, actually,
yeah.
it was 25. We
Right,
weren't spending
exactly,
a whole
so
lot of money, yeah.
How much are we actually spending? Because when somebody says, I'm writing you a check for 25 grand,
It says not to exceed 21,500.
21,000. Yeah.
right? But do we have to use, how much are we using?
We're using 11,000 of it right now. That's where we're at right now, 11,000.
So do you think you guys are going to use much more than that?
We might. We were thinking of putting lights on all over the front of the building here that we've
that'll
never
be-
done before.
I think that'll be double.
I don't think it'd be double, but you never know.
Bring
you
it
know.
back a tad.
I
I don't know, just my, just,
I like Christmas, you know.
I love
can decorate
Christmas,
the back of the
but I don't
building,
like
too.
taxes. And that's on the agenda, just letting everybody know.
For what it's worth, I agree with Trustee Pesmino. The display that we have out there is it's just amazing, and adding more, I don't think is necessary. I think it's really great the way that it is. But all of his points are valid.
Thank you, Trustee.
Anyone else? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Fialko.
Aye.
Trustee Consolino.
Aye.
Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Trustee Rogers.
No?
Trustee Pesmino.
No.
Trustee Laha.
aye.
Motion carries. Next, approval of spending allotted funds for the holiday light display for Homer for the holidays. Oh, wait.
Wait, that's
I read
next
that.
one.
Read it?
You read
Yep.
it?
Next one, approval for a purchase of a 2022 Ford F-250 pickup truck for the Parks and Recreation Department. Is there a motion to approve the purchase of a 2022 Ford F-250 pickup truck for the Parks and Recreation Department in the amount of $24,999?
So moved.
Trustee Renders. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
All right, guys. Again, when I see tax levy, that's when you say, that means it's cut the fat. Because if the residents have to flip the bill, that means I would rather go other directions to see where we can cut it. So I just have a few questions. Good, John, perfect timing.
Thank you, John.
So, let's see, as far as the park, what is the park staff currently using right now?
Right now,
In the parks that they currently have, I'm sorry.
we have 2 pickup trucks right now, and we have, there's a 2019 pickup truck, there's a 2021 pickup truck, and there's a 2006 dump truck that we have. We're also using a 1994 Ford van that we misappropriated from the Public Works Department because they weren't using it. So that's what we have right now in vehicles. And the purpose of this vehicle is because we're going to have another crew on the street when we take over the township parks. So without this vehicle, we won't be able to, because the van can't tow a trailer, so we would have a very difficult time maintaining the township parks.
How many tons is that truck that you guys are acquiring?
The new one?
Yeah.
It's an F-250.
F-250. So do you have any comparable trucks in your fleet now?
We have one F-350 and we have one F-250. We started buying the F-250s because the F-250s have a comparable towing capability. They can carry less weight, but they can tow pretty much the same.
Yeah.
And they're cheaper. And this truck is a 2-wheel drive, not a 4-wheel drive, because we didn't think we needed another 4-wheel drive truck. So this truck is actually pretty much the base level, what you can get, and still have 4 tires to drive off the lot.
So who primarily will be using this truck? Will it be assigned to one person? Or
No, it'll be assigned to whoever is using it that day.
Okay.
Any one of the Parks and Recreation people.
And was there a quoting process on this, like RFP? Did we go to different?
Okay, what we do is the Northwest Municipal Conference does a bidding program, and through that, as members of Will County Government League, we are allowed to purchase vehicles through the Northwest Municipal Conference bidding program. This is a better price than you would get through the Illinois state bid, and Curry Ford currently has the bid for the F-250s. Pretty much every vehicle we have bought, we have, for the village, since I've been here, has been through the Northwest Municipal Conference bidding program, because they have been better pricing than state bid.
Any other questions?
Yes, sir, I actually do, but I don't want to hog up my time. Does anybody else have any? So,
Well, I would just say that there's two things that I've heard lately. It's the worst time to buy a new vehicle because they're marked up so much because there is no inventory out there. And second is it's a terrible investment to buy a brand new vehicle. So I'm wondering if it's an option to try to find something like a 2019, 2020, something that's not brand new off the lot.
The problem is because there are no new vehicles available, the used vehicles are much more expensive. If we were going to buy something a few years older, we would end up paying more money than we would pay for a new vehicle through the purchasing program.
And plus, you don't know where that truck's been, who maintained it. It'd be different.
Right. Just for instance, the EMA, the Homer Fire District is selling their previous chief's car to the EMA. It's a 2013 Tahoe. They're selling it to us for $11,000. When we first started the conversation, the 2013 Tahoes were worth about $15,000. When we did, just before we made the agreement, they were selling for $19,000. Now they're well into the $20,000 range because people are paying premium money for used vehicles because they can't get new vehicles. Even with that, if we order, the cutoff date for this vehicle is November 12th, and even with ordering it prior to the cutoff date, we still wouldn't have the vehicle probably till July or August, because they're not even giving build dates past May 1st, right, prior to May 1st right now.
just to add, I was in the fleet business for 10 years before I got into the private sector, and I was actually in charge of Bristol Myers, Eli Lilly, and Siemens. A lot of these work trucks we actually used to buy all over, even if they had to ship it and send it from another state. It was actually more cost effective than getting a used vehicle. But the bottom line, your baseline flatbed truck, especially if it's in white, very easy to get. Now, that point aside, I honestly think that, because from what I read, it looks like the reason we're going after this truck is because we're acquiring a few more parks. But then that leads me to my next question. What is the specific use of this new truck? What exactly will you be using?
It's going to tow a trailer with mowers on it.
Okay, so no other trucks in our fleet can do that?
All the other trucks already tow equipment and are used for different things to maintain our existing parks.
So they'll be towing all the same things at the same time?
Well, different trailers with different equipment, but as we go out, we always do that. As we go out to different directions, you have to have different pieces of equipment going in different directions.
My honest opinion, I really think that we should try out one more season, see how we're doing with these parks. Any attempt to save the taxpayers' money, I think we should do that. It's not like we don't have any trucks. We have plenty of trucks. That's what I think. I don't know if anybody thinks the same thing. But honestly, my red flag here is the fact that we're discussing tax levies. So we're at this point, it's time to cut the fat. And I honestly don't think that, you know, of course, if the board thinks differently, I honestly don't think that we need that expense right now.
Well, basically, we knew moving forward in acquiring these parks that we were going to need additional equipment. And everybody on this board agreed that, yes, we were going to need additional equipment when we took on these 6 additional parks.
Right.
So therefore, we need to buy the equipment that it's going to take to maintain these parks.
Every time, you got to figure there's basically 3 trucks that they can use. And how many lawnmowers do you have, and give the sizes of it, what it's carrying around. You can't do it. You need the extra truck. And I agree with you 100%. We took on the other parks, and now we're just going to let them get slopped up because we're not going to take care of it.
How many trucks do we have that could have the towing capacity that you need, sir?
We have 3.
3. So
but we try not to use the dump truck on a daily basis because it's to replace it would be extremely expensive. The dump truck we use for certain things. We use the dump truck for moving mulch, moving dirt. So we try not to use that all the time as a regular route vehicle. We did that for the first 2 years, and then when you need the truck to tow or move a heavier piece of equipment, then we don't have it because it's out dragging lawnmowers around. So, like I said, when we all talked about this, we all wanted the parks, and we all knew that there was going to be equipment that was going to be needed, and we all knew there was going to be personnel that was going to be needed. So
How many people are usually on a truck?
2.
Okay.
Sometimes 3, because we have the one 4-door truck if we need to send 3 people out, so we're not jamming 3 people into a truck. I don't like sending 2 trucks to the same place because we only have, the 2 that we have, and we use them for what we use them for.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Sure. I see exactly what you're saying, but, coming from a small business owner, every penny counts.
I understand.
If I could accommodate what I need to accommodate, I'm going to try it out first to see if I can make with what I have.
Okay.
Not just go ahead and just buy stuff. Hold on, I'm not done. Not just go ahead and just buy stuff just in case. I mean, you can buy a truck at any time. If you feel at any point, wow, we're really falling behind the ball, you can just go out and buy a truck. And to be honest with you, out-of-stock trucks are going to be your best bet other than factory orders.
The problem is right now there are no trucks in stock, and the other thing is if you buy a truck off the shelf right now.
Are you going towards what one dealer's telling you, or are you going towards other dealers that have told you?
Okay.
What you're saying from Curry Motors?
Ford, which is one of the largest Ford dealers on the south side, if they had a truck in stock, they would not sell it to us in the state bid price. Under the agreement they have with the state bid price and with the municipal conference price, the vehicle has to be ordered through Ford, and then Ford reimburses them through the purchasing program.
It's called
if they had this exact same truck on the lot.
Does it have to be that exact same truck?
What?
Does it have to be that exact same truck, or can it be a truck with the same payload?
Well, for as basic as this truck is, if they had one, they wouldn't sell it to us for this price. Because the vehicles that, under the purchasing program, they have to be ordered, and the order has to go through Ford, and it's all part of how they do the municipal purchasing.
Do we have to buy this truck through that program, or can we just go factory direct? Not factory direct, dealer direct. Or out of stock, they call. That's the industry term.
Well, don't we have to go through the bid process, and don't we?
Get 3 or 4 dealers.
But we have.
It's not necessarily a requirement to go through this process. I think what John's trying to say is that this is a very competitive price. We're concerned about procuring it from other sources. We already have a 6-month lead time to get this truck that will meet our needs for the parks that we want to make sure are up to our village standards beginning on May 1st. There's not necessarily a requirement that we would have to go through this, but I think it's.
I don't honestly think we've exhausted every venue, to be honest. I think once you do that, you'll find that you're going to save a lot of money. And plus, this didn't go through A&F, so we didn't even have a chance to address it there.
The problem that we run into with buying from dealers is you call them today, they're not going to have apples-to-apples vehicles. They're not all going to have the same vehicle. And if we get a price from them today, they might not have that vehicle.
Once you issue a purchase order, they're locked into it.
Well, I get that, but I'm just saying, if we call Terry's Ford in Peatone and say, we're looking for this truck, how much is it? And they say, well, we have this truck, and this is the price. Then we call Curry Ford, and we call, by the time somebody could have walked in and bought that truck already.
Purchase orders have the VIN number, they have the make, the model, they have absolutely everything you need so they can't swap the vehicle out.
So, Trustee Pasmino, what are you recommending?
I'm recommending this goes back and we bid this out and we save money if we really, really, really need this truck.
Okay.
Would we be willing to do this sooner than later? Because my concern is we're looking at inflation. Okay, you're already looking at, it's actually 7 or 8 months before he would get the truck. And I think supply and demand is just going to get worse.
Yeah, right now, you can't get it.
So
you can't-
if we
I've
could do
lost
this
2 vehicles
extremely
already.
quickly for a
You guys know
rebid,
what's out there, you guys vote ultimately
But-
what you want to do.
No, I agree. I understand with what you're saying and, being smart with our spending. I think that's definitely something that we should be looking into. I understand that there's a time of 6 months and, getting a new truck, a brand new truck right now. I think, we've got, the next item is also something that we're going to really, it's important.
We need
for these
these
types.
items, yeah,
We
we need
need
these
these items, but I do agree with you, Ruben, that maybe we should take this and send it through ANF, get a recommendation and see where we go from.
His deadline date.
It won't make his deadline date, right?
Right, he will not, no.
But we'll make the deadline date for the next,
November 12th.
for the 2022s, then we'd have to wait for the purchasing program to go through for the 2023s. So if we don't, and it's up to you,
Right.
but if we don't do it by November 12th, we'll miss the cutoff date for the 2022s.
John, do you have a rough idea of when they would start doing it for November, for the 2023s?
I have
They're
no
not even doing the
idea.
2022s right now.
Because I don't-
They don't have half the,
Yeah, I can't even get a 2022 car yet.
That's my concern.
well, you can get certain ones.
I know a
you
lot of
can,
people that
But
have
for the
gotten
most
cars.
part, everything electronic is next to impossible to get. I fix cars, I put them together, and any car that gets, everything's so electronic on all these things that 90% of them, you can't get the parts. So I've got one car that's been there for over 7 months right now, and I can't give it back to them because I can't get the part, because they don't have it.
Right.
So if you've got something in your hand, like they say, bird in the hand is better than 2 in the bush.
Yep.
So,
My last recommendation, just search any dealership within, I would say, even out of state. Most dealerships, especially that deal with any type of business trucks, flatbed trucks, especially white, does have a pool selection. I'm sure you heard of it. So most of the dealerships, especially some of the bigger ones, have 150 to 200 pool vehicles in stock. And if you're depending on the service that you're using now, I'm tired. I did that for 10 years, all over the country and internationally.
Yeah, but Ruben,
Believe
it
me.
wasn't, I don't mean to interrupt you, but it wasn't, the situation
We
wasn't
didn't
the
check.
same 10
We didn't
years
check,
ago.
right? We didn't check?
Whatever you want.
No. Did we check? That's just a question.
No, because
We're depending on
generally,
one
as a rule, we
service.
find that
Right.
when we go through the purchasing program, that's the best price you can get out there is because it's been, the price has already been negotiated for a specific vehicle with specific options, whatever. So
Right.
I don't think if we took this truck and we called every dealership in the United States, I don't think we would get that same truck for that price. But if you guys
It's
want us
worth
to
a
do
check.
that,
It's
we'd
worth
be
a
more than
try.
happy to do that.
If you guys want to do it. I would check. If it saves you $2,000, $3,000, you can thank me later.
all right, any other discussion? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
No.
Trustee Laha?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, approval of a purchase of a Toro 4000D mower for the Parks and Recreation Department. Is there a motion to approve a purchase of a Toro 4000-D mower for the Parks and Recreation Department in the amount of, it's 63?
63.
Yeah, it's 60, because that's a typo. It's $60,000. It went up $18,000, and because Toro didn't want to sell it to us because it was too cheap, and John got the price back down to $60,000. And we have 6 more parks, and... Keep reading the motion. All right. So, well, all it is, it's the motion, I already read it. It's $60,000. That's a typo on the bottom of 63,000.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Rosie, you were first, right?
Pardon me? Yes, I did, yeah.
Okay.
Ladies first.
Jennifer, you were second?
Yes.
Okay. All right, discussion.
Okay, Mayor, again, here's another situation. When we took on these 6 parks, we knew that we were going to have to buy equipment. We knew the equipment was going to be expensive because of the situation with COVID, with the way the market is. Things were going to be bad. But we need this mower. We have until May 1st to get all of our equipment together before we take over these parks. So this is another item that has to be ordered, right, John? Yeah, it has to be ordered, and we probably won't get delivery until May or June.
If we order this by the second week of November, they say we could have it by the end of April.
By the end of April, so just in time for us to take over May 1st, yes.
Yeah, this isn't me making this stuff up. I mean, I'm actually, you know.
John, can you tell us why we actually need this addition?
Okay, because we're taking on 50 plus more acres of grass to cut. And there's actually more than that of actual property. So this is a 11-foot wide mower, and you can't, if you go out and cut 50 acres of land with, 48-inch mowers, it's gonna take forever. This is as well as a equipment saver, it's a staff saver, it's a time saver. The other reason for picking this particular mower is we already have one. And that will save us money for common parts, common tires. We only have to stock a specific oil filter, specific blades. Everything matches between this mower and the large mower we bought when we started this back in 2016. The other reason for buying this mower is when we bought the large mower in 2016, we also bought a brush attachment for it, which we use on the trails to keep the trails clean, and we bought a snowblower attachment for it, which we use that mower also in the winter time as a snowblower. Now, this mower is not going to have a cab on it, so putting a snowblower on it would be pretty silly, but we can always use the attachments we already have on this piece of equipment.
And John, we didn't hire any more staff, right, for the new parks yet? We haven't hired any more staff, so we're going to need more
no, but
equipment.
we have plans on adding that to the budget, yes.
I mean, if we're taking over all of these parks from the township, what were they mowing their parks with, and why can't we?
We did get some of the equipment from,
Right.
didn't we get a mower from Public Works?
The Public Works had a mower that they were using prior to for their properties that they have. We cut that grass now, so we took that mower. So that's a small zero-turn mower. They were cutting that whole front field out there, that whatever 10, 12 acres, whatever they have out there. They were cutting that with a 48-inch zero-turn. We take the 11-foot mower out there, and it's a lot faster. And like I said, time is money, right? So if we have a guy sitting out there all day with the zero-turn, when we can use the zero, we use the equipment where it works the best. So the small mowers are used in the places where it's the best, whereas we use the larger mowers in the larger areas. We're going to have this sports complex to attend to, as well as the other acreage of parks, and that's why we need another large mower.
Yeah, I feel like if they don't have these properties anymore, whatever they were using to mow them, we could approach them and work something out with that. I mean,
they were using all small mowers. They didn't have any large frame mowers. So.
Something that I noticed this summer when we came on and we would walk the parks was that, remember the complaints that you guys had about mowing? And we're having a lot more activities in our parks. Now you're gaining more parks. And in my mind, it makes a little bit more sense that we have equipment to be able to keep up with the flow, because it's only going to continue.
So I just see one bid in the packet. Is that also an agreement that's out there?
This price is this is through the Illinois state bid. So there is no lower price. The other purchasing program that we have used for equipment in the past is through Sourcewell. Sourcewell is a private purchasing company, similar to what Northwest Municipal Conference does. But Sourcewell is a private company. We've bought other equipment through Sourcewell purchasing. Actually, this price, we got a quote from this. I'll tell you this story. We got this quote from the Toro sales rep, okay, for this price, which is the Illinois state bid price. You're not going to find a price cheaper than the Illinois state bid price, okay? The Toro was having a issue with the state of Illinois, and they were no longer going to accept the Illinois state bid price. I found that out last week when I was off. I spent 3 hours on the phone with reps from our dealer, reps from Toro, and reps from everywhere. The Sourcewell purchasing cost for this mower is $81,000, which would be our next available price. If we didn't want to buy it through the Illinois state bid, the next best price would be through Sourcewell, which is $81,000 for the same piece of equipment. I was trying to, because this mower costs Toro $73,000 to make, which is why they're beefing with the state, because this contract has been going on for it was a 4-year contract, and they've been trying to get raises to they've been trying to get a raise to the bid price, and the state's refusing to let them do it. So I was in communication with them, trying to play let's make a deal. Okay, I don't want you guys to lose money, but we don't want to, get jammed either. So what can we do? So Reinders talked to Toro, talked to everybody concerned, called me back and said, okay, since there are 2 quotes out there, one for you and one for another park district, we are going to honor the state bid price just for you guys, and that's it. And we are not going to offer the state bid price to anybody else, because they're losing $10,000 on the mower, because like I said, it costs them $73,000 to make it. So, and that was all, and I reported that to the Parks Committee at the Parks meeting last week. So and once again, just due to, as people know, if you're going to order something now, it takes forever. It's not just a mower anymore, because now the EPA is requesting emissions now on even on lawn mowers. They have to have emission control equipment on them. So it's not just a mower anymore. They have computers on them and everything else. So that's what's taking so long to get these things made, because the diesel engines have to meet the tier 4 standards. So it's not just going out to the Ace Hardware and buying a push mower.
How come this didn't go through A&F?
I'm sorry, what?
Why didn't this come to A&F?
Trustee Rogers, our concern was about waiting till November because of the deadline to get the price in, especially with the situation that John just mentioned. Obviously, ideally, we would bring these items forward to A&F, but since the IGA was just approved last meeting, we wanted to get a jump on it and make sure that we had some time in case anything happened.
So how much time do you have before you have to pull the trigger on this?
Friday. And it's all because of things that are outside of my control. Just like just like the vehicle. If even if they weren't having this issue with the state of Illinois, they told us you need to order it if you want it in your hands at the end of April, which is what we told them. You're going to have to order it by mid-November at the latest. So, and once again, we talked about this with the parks. We knew we were going to, that's why I was pushing back acceptance of the parks till May 1st, so we had time to get equipment in place and to get personnel in place, so we could take these parks over and maintain them properly. So,
in my opinion, I think, I'm just speaking off the cuff right here, but it seems to me that the township did a pretty good job without the Rolls Royce of lawnmowers. Plus didn't go through A&F. I only see one bid, and I understand you only use one source. And any salesman that I've ever encountered, they say the sky is falling, you got to order now, do it now, or else you're not going to be able to get that same price. And then boom, we always fall for it. So I don't know, just what I have to say.
Any other discussion?
So you recommend we send this one to A&F too, is that what you're saying?
Be the right thing to do.
I think in the future, there's an underlying theme here that things need to really go before A&F. Would everybody agree?
Finance.
Well, we did discuss these parks, not just once, we did it twice. Everyone knew what we were getting into.
Right.
6 more parks that we do have, that's what's getting thrown on him and his crew. And last year, he had such a hard time trying to even find the people to do it. And then if you don't get it done, then the residents are mad, because I've gotten umpteen thousand phone calls for weeds. Why wasn't this cut? Why wasn't this trimmed? Why is this tree like this? you know, you got to understand, it takes money to be able to run everything that we're doing. If not, then just give the parks back and let the township worry about it.
This is a $63,000 lawnmower.
It's a $60,000.
Okay, well,
No,
it
it's
says
63.
63 on my,
It's 63,000.
did I read that wrong? You have a different copy on yours?
No, it's mine, this says 63,000, but John told me he got it down to 60, but what's the
No,
other?
it's 60, this, what you see on your paper, the 63,617.82 is the state bid price. That's the state bid price. When we got a quote, like I said, we got a quote from Toro for that price. Then they came to us and said, we are not going to honor the state bid price. Okay. When I was, like last week when I was off, they said they were not going to honor the price because they're having a beef with the state, okay? When I asked them, okay, so if we bought it under Sourcewell, if you're not going to honor the state bid price, if we bought it under Sourcewell, how much would the price be? And they told me $81,000.
Okay.
I think I'd like to see it, at least try it a summer with the equipment that the township used in the past before we just, today alone, spent $100,000 on this park. If we approve this, I think this might be a way to just pause and look at it, and then if it's not something that works this one summer, then we look at it next year.
No, this isn't one park though, this is 6 parks.
I understand.
Yeah, it's 5 different parks and a sports complex.
Right.
Yeah.
It's 50+ acres of grass.
Not to mention the fact that we don't have to service those until May, correct?
Right, but we won't get this equipment till May. If we want the equipment for May, we have to order it in the second week of November.
I don't think we'd be in dire straits. Now, just out of curiosity, because I know we signed the contract with Berry Landscaping, what exactly are they mowing?
They just mow 159th
159th.
Street. They mow the center medians and the side right away on 159th Street.
Now, just out of curiosity, is there a reason we can't do that? Because we don't have the equipment, or why did we?
Because when we
farm
talked
out to
about
them?
that, the cost of the cost of doing it and the safety issue and everything else, it was decided at the time to let them do it.
Now, I don't know, I'm just throwing this out, I don't even know if I can do this, but Supervisor Balich, Road Commissioner Porfirio, in the event, during this bidding process, let's say for whatever reason, we end up saving money and we miss the boat here, is there a way that you guys could help us out a little bit until May, just to cover our bases?
They are,
The township is covering the parks until May 1st.
Right, but let's say a little bit afterwards, we don't make the boat, because right now the argument is that we don't make the bid and we miss the boat, and in May, machines are just going to disappear off the face of the earth.
Well, let's put it like this. If you don't got machines, I'm sure we can work something out.
But you'll not let us fail,
When you're talking
correct?
about our machines, we have small, we don't have like what...
Is that what you service?
But that's one of the problems that we got. We have all that, we have a lot of land, as you know, and that's, we don't have the people to do it. But if you have a problem in May, we can still help out.
All right.
We have to work out some kind of arrangement. But we'll worry about that in May. I mean, if you can't get the 11-foot, I don't know what size our, I think we have 6-foot lawnmowers. Wouldn't you say that?
We don't have any 11-foot.
No.
They took them all.
They're more like 4 to 6 feet.
Brent said they're more like 4 to 6 foot.
They're not 11, that's all.
They're not big.
So did you have any issues with landscaping with that machinery?
No, and we're handling these 7 parks or 8 parks, and then we got the open space, and we got the township, we got the senior housing, and we got 3 guys. And, we did our best we could. And the parks, for the most part, didn't look too shabby. I mean, we weren't able to get to the weeds a lot of time, but the grass was cut. So, I mean, I get where John's coming from. You get a bigger lawnmower, and guess what? It takes half the time. Because it's going to, if we have like a 4 to 6 foot one, you get an 11-foot one. One run with the 11-foot does 2 runs for the other one, so you save a lot of time.
I'd like to say,
I was just going to say that
right.
you got to balance the amount of staff with the time you're going to put in with the mower. If you got a more efficient mower, guess what? your staff is going to stay at a lower number. And the staff costs a hell of a lot more than the mower does.
Right.
I think,
Got insurance and everything else to deal with staff and union dues and everything else. And by the way, that truck price is unbelievable that he has. I can't believe he got it that cheap.
I think we're preventing the inevitable here. We took on these parks. We knew that this was going to cost more money. We knew that we needed more staff. I mean, we're putting a lot on him, and you know, I think, you know, from Parks Committee, we support his expertise in this. I mean, like I said, this is a lot of money, and I'm sitting up here nervous because I understand this is a lot of money. I totally get that, but we knew this going in, and right now we're just preventing the inevitable, that we are going to need this.
I'm just preventing overspending.
Sure, no, I
You got to do the
understand,
bidding
right.
process, and I look at the taxpayers' pockets the way I would look at my own business.
100%, and
I need to do my due diligence. I need to go out and I need to bid. Now, if there's one person that, you know, you can't just say, okay, there's one guy that does it, because there's absolutely no such thing as one dealer.
Right.
I get it. And I understand that you use a program to save money. I get that too. But what is it? Number one, it should go through A&F because we would have asked for that due diligence, right? And I just kind of feel like the reason that this is coming all about now is because of the fact that we pushed for the parks and we got them. So now let's throw the kitchen sink in. No, that's not how I work.
And it's not the way that was not the way that we proposed it
That's the way
either.
it's coming in front of this board now. We
Like
haven't
I
heard
said,
about
if you guys are having problems in May, we'll work something out. Everybody that lives in Homer Township lives in Homer Glen. You know, for the most part, I mean, I said it backwards. Whoever lives in Homer Glen lives in Homer Township. And there's still more, like 40% of the city of Lockport is in Homer Township. But I don't want to see anybody take gas because they run into trouble. We're there to help. I mean, we're not going to throw you under the bus and roll the tires over you. You know, if you're having a problem getting equipment to do the park, we'll work something out. I mean, I don't know what else I can say.
I want to add something too. The road district staff has less responsibilities now. We can help mow. And something you got to think about is the park district staff in the winter, I don't know if they're going to be doing snow removal. So you don't want to beef up the staff in the summer and have them doing this all winter. So you got to look at the number.
We're going to be plowing snow.
But okay, double duty then. But I'm just saying we can help out with that too.
Again, the board, my problem is not the acquisition of the equipment you need. My problem is the due diligence, in my opinion, that was not taken to secure a good price. And then on top of the fact, and you know, Trustee Rogers has brought this up before, this should have gone through admin and finance, because that's what we do. We make sure we get the best price.
All right, once again, like I said, this is a state bid price. You are not going to find this machine any cheaper, any place else, okay? Number two, if we would have had time to go through to go through A&F, we absolutely would have gone to A&F. Okay, whenever in the past we've had, I know you don't believe us, and that's fine. If we would have the time, we would absolutely have come to A&F, and it would have gone to the first board meeting in November. I have no reason to believe that our Toro sales rep is lying to us about when equipment has to be ordered if we plan on getting it. We're seeing this across the industry. I'm sure if anybody has looked at a car and tried to order a vehicle or a truck or anything else, they know the stuff is coming, months or years down the line because of all manners of issues with the supply chain. If you guys want us to bring this back to A&F, we'll be more than happy to bring this to A&F. But I can tell you right now, when we come to A&F, the price will be $81,000. Because they only gave us, they're only going to honor the state bid price for us and for another community, and they're not going to hold it forever. So if you guys want us to take it to A&F, we'll be more than happy to.
Any other discussion?
One more thing, I'm sorry, but for the record, we knew that we were toying with the idea of taking the parks over. This is nothing that was sprung on anybody. Because of the fact that it was voted on recently doesn't mean that we couldn't have done our due diligence way before and gotten bids way before. So that's all I have.
Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino?
No.
Trustee Laha?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
No.
Trustee Consolino.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And just for the record, Reinders, this is not how I spell my name, and this is not my company.
You got to make sure you clarify those things.
So I'm not making any money off this.
Okay, next, is there a motion to approve ordinance number 21-043, an ordinance amending section 45-7A and B of the Village of Homer Glen Code of Ordinances entitled Creation of Position, Appointments, Discipline, and Termination?
So moved.
Second.
No. Discussion.
Well, we just sat here for half an hour talking about stuff that should have gone through A&F and couldn't because of timing. Here's another thing that should have gone to A&F, could still go to A&F because there is no hurry to push something through, especially when I'm still waiting, as I said, to get the opinions back. So we just sat here and preached for half an hour. Admin and finance, it should have gone through A&F. It didn't go to A&F, got shoved onto an agenda.
Good enough. Carrie, can you advise us on this, that should this have gone to admin and finance?
I'm sorry,
Do you think this should have gone to admin and finance?
You are a village board, and the administration and finance is a committee of your board. They can recommend to you adoption of an ordinance, but ultimately it's your call. If you have reviewed the ordinance and you feel comfortable acting on it, sending it to administration and finance has absolutely no purpose because it just delays action on the ordinance. If you want to send it there, you certainly have that prerogative. But as I said, if you've reviewed the ordinance and you understand it, there's no reason to delay acting on it however you want to act on it.
Then what's the purpose of A&F? I mean, that's what it is, right? We listen to it, we tweak it, we come back with a recommendation one way or the other. So get rid of A&F then, if this is how we're going to run things.
I agree with you to some point when it comes to spending the taxpayers' money and the due diligence as clearly was not done as I would have liked to see it done today. That's specifically why I would think something like that goes through admin and finance. But for something like this, sir, excuse me, number one, the discussion is on the board, and this is something that doesn't take a bidding process. We have two legal counsels here that are basically the bidding process. They're the experts in the field that could tell us exactly what we need to know now. Now, unless you know any dealerships that are at this dais, or maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, this would kind of fall by the wayside. So, it's my opinion.
Then I guess we need to change the name to Finance Committee.
Our experts are here.
That's all we're going to do?
We have our experts right here.
Right, Eric, what is your opinion? Should this have gone to Administration and Finance Committee?
I believe it's not a bad idea, simply because, as you mentioned, some of the issues that are coming before the board, you've stated should go through A&F, should go through A&F. Some of the members of the board may understand the ordinance, some may have some questions. The committee, as Trustee Rogers said, would be able to go through it and make some recommendations. There might be some changes that were recommended, but it also allows, those committees are open to the public, correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It also gives the citizens an opportunity to find out more about it as well. They may not know much about the ordinance, and they may want to weigh in as well.
But it's not a
Things that a
necessity.
lot of people don't understand what this is all about. If you look at 45-7, just the A, there is hereby created a position of the village manager of the Village of Homer Glen, who shall be, then you've got scratched out, selected and hired by the Village Board of Trustees. So everything is left out to the trustees. I have nothing to do with it. Trustees have full reign on this, and I don't understand, first of all, why it's happening. Second of all, what is this? Is this, do you guys just want to take over the entire village and just make sure that the entire village is yours and you have control over it? If someone doesn't understand what's in front of them, that's when you table it, you bring it back, you talk about it, and find out exactly what it is. So what is it that you really want to do? So let's just get this to where we're not wasting each other's time.
Well, first, I'd like to say this is something that, obviously, a village manager is something very, very important, not only to this board, but to the future of Homer Glen. This is something that I very, very strongly feel we all should be a part of, not just one side or the other. This is something, if we can't come together on certain things, this is one thing that I am really, really asking that we all come together for. You know, village manager, as we know, we do not have a great track record with village managers. You know, we don't have, you know, a great board right now working together. This is something that is extremely important. And I think at this point, I would really, really like to see us just all working together on this. You know, what does this mean? Maybe it means that we, you know, take, when we do 45(7)B, you know, we have the village president in conjunction with the village board of trustees. Why can't we make this an in conjunction with everybody? Why does it have to be either or? Why can't we really work hard to get this right this time?
I also would like
Sir, I'd like to go next. You already had your turn. Thank you, sir.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you spoke earlier. I thought we were going trustee to trustee.
Oh my God.
What?
As did you.
So let me finish up.
Yeah, point.
You know, what is this, a contest? It's not a
No,
contest.
sir, it's a bunch of passionate people. Thank you, sir. And when we've dealt with you before, the public doesn't know what we've been going through and are going through with you, and there's a reason for everything we're doing. We're residents, we're citizens. We're not bad people the way we've been put out in the public to. Now, Trustee Rogers, and by the way, thank you for bringing your own audience, because there's, you know, we got hecklers out there thanks to some of the people on this board.
Hey, you know what? Knock this off, because this is getting ridiculous.
I don't think I was out of order. I don't think I was out of order, sir. I was just stating the facts.
You've got... They live here. They live here. This is who we are working for, is the people that are out there and in this village.
They're also
And
the ones
all this is
screaming out there for you, sir.
Should I just call point of order and ask for a vote?
Why don't we just start working on things and doing what's good for the village and for the residents?
We are.
No, you're not.
Yes, we are.
What have we done for the residents?
That's your opinion, sir.
What have we done for the residents?
Everything that we tried to do, you shot down.
I did.
Everything that I've even tried to do.
Point of order, can we call a vote?
Call a vote on what?
I really would like to try to figure out if we can work together. I mean, I really would like that.
Nicole, I'm in agreement with you.
It would be very nice.
In our history of 20 years, we've had 11 village managers. This is such a pivotal position, and this is why this position has to be put out, vetted. We have to hire somebody who is very qualified and willing to stay the long haul in this community and be a part of this community. We have not experienced that. We've been through 3 village managers the past 6 years. It is apparent from the way that we follow this hiring procedure now that that's not occurring. It cannot have control go to any one person.
Right.
It has to be a divided split. And, you know, trying to work this out, it doesn't work out because it's your way or the highway. So this is why we devised this ordinance.
It's never been that way. This village has been able to make it from the year 2000 to now, and it's been wonderful until for the last
11 village managers.
In the hiring process, and Ruben will tell you, we were very involved in all of the hiring processes. We went through the resumes, every single resume. We said, who did we want to interview? We sat down on the interviews. As a board, we chose who was going to do it.
I was never involved in the hiring of the village processes because I was not in office.
So let's not talk about the past. Why can't we move forward and create a process where we all have a say, where we all are working together?
No, I wasn't, not for village manager.
You never sat in on any interviews?
No, he was not present.
Not one.
Okay.
Thank you.
So let's do that. Why didn't we come up with a resolution here where we all have a say in, this is an extremely important pivotal time.
Otherwise, it ends up being like a public director position again.
100%. right? We don't want that to happen. We want a long-term, really good village manager. We have some really
Our community
important things.
deserves a really
I completely agree.
qualified.
Now, I will add, in the beginning, when a major village position was added, had we been added to the process, we wouldn't be talking about this right now. But the sole fact that we were bypassed, none of our views were listened to. We can't allow that to happen anymore. This board will not bring something into this village without our
It's not a
somewhat
board
of
of
a
one.
say in it. And we know full well that anybody that, for whatever reason we like, you're not going to like. So, and I think you've made it perfectly clear that you're not willing to cooperate with us. And you've made that very vocal. In fact, some of the, you've brought up people putting stuff in social media before. I'm not going to mention any names, but there has been, trustee putting things out there that the sky is falling. They're trying to change your way of life and your government. No, we're just trying to make our village better. And every time we've tried, you've blocked us. And you don't even give us a chance. There's a reason that we were voted in. There's a reason that there's a new board, because the residents would like to see a new point of view, a new perspective. So that is why we think it's very important for us to have very intense and oversight over the village manager that comes in, because we do not think it's going to happen the way things are now.
And this is not a position we can afford to keep putting off and arguing over. This needs to be done.
But again, we're going to supersede committees because that's what we consistently do.
We've been doing it plenty since I've been sitting here.
We have superseded committees. I brought up that concern in the past, and where I'm like, this should really go back to parks, or this should go back to, because that's why the committees are formed. So we're, again, going to supersede a committee that you don't have to. It can go to A&F and then come back here again. It doesn't have to do that. We can still start the process of looking for a village manager. I actually thought you were doing that. I thought we were doing that. I haven't seen anything. I thought we were working on that. Still do that, because this is going to take months. And again, any village manager that applies for this job is going to watch these meetings and run for the hills. So I think we're kind of superseding ourselves. And I agree with Nicole. A and B should be identical.
May I address the board just briefly?
Yeah.
May I? Because Trustee Rogers, you may have overheard the comment that the mayor made to me at the end of last meeting when we were standing in the back of the room. And it's my definite understanding that there is no intention, the mayor has no intention of cooperating in the selection of a new village manager. At this point in time, this board has no village manager. You have an interim who was not appointed. He was apparently selected in some fashion. This particular position was created in 2007, and it was called a position, all right? It was created by ordinance. That was the means used. It was not created through a referendum, nor was it created through any type of vote. There was no term of office, no term attached to the office. So all you're doing this evening in considering this particular ordinance, all right, is changing the way you're going to select this position going forward. To defer it to a committee, if you care to, would just result in nothing more than the committee coming back to this board and saying, this is what we want to do. So while I'm listening to all of your comments, I'm telling you now, as the legislative council, who was actually told, go out and find a manager, all right? Go find people that you can bring back to the board. And we're actively trying to do that, okay? But I was told clearly that there was not going to be cooperation from the individual who, by your current ordinance, would have to make an appointment before you could act. So it was my advice, that this type of ordinance be created to bring this position into a situation where you as a board can say yes or no, but not have to wait until the point of view of the mayor changes. And I'm telling you that, I'm telling you very, very clearly the rationale behind this for this consideration this evening, and the lack of any reason to send it off to a committee with the hopes that it can be delayed. And in terms of what the Attorney General may or may not do, the bottom line, I don't know how long the Attorney General is taking with anything at this point in time, but I'm still waiting for an opinion from the Attorney General that was requested 2 years ago in another community. So I really don't know what's going to take place with respect to the Attorney General, but there's simply no reason to delay waiting while you hope the Attorney General will find this important enough to address.
Can I ask a question for clarification, please?
No, let me finish.
Okay.
Carrie, who wrote the ordinance in 2007?
Pardon?
Who wrote the ordinance in 2007?
I did not.
Well, your law firm wrote it.
I did not prepare the ordinance, and I believe it was adopted.
I was a trustee at that time.
It was adopted. No, you weren't a trustee in 07, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it came in 2008.
It was adopted prior to our representing the village of Homer Glen, because the village had a village manager prior to our firm coming in to represent the village of Homer Glen.
And I'm sure it was by their instruction.
It was not by
the instruction of who was running things that asked the lawyer to interpret it that way, because that's what lawyers should do, interpret what's asked.
You now have my clearly expressed point of view and the rationale that I advised be followed, so you can move on this position at some point in the near future, as opposed to delay, and delay.
It's not a delay. It's just trying to find out exactly what they're going to do, because you are taking every single solitary thing that I can do, you're stripping from me. And that's just not right. We haven't done anything wrong in this village. We've done everything that's right for this village, and everything that they're reading and finding, most of it you guys have written. Back in 2007, that's when it was written, it had nothing, coming forward, it has nothing to do with it. This village is still run absolutely fine. We don't have any issues here. They're mad because and he was appointed, because Carrie didn't want to be here when, not you, Carrie didn't want to be here when all this stuff happened, because she knew this was going to be held to be, to live with. So, when all this came down, she asked every one of the trustees that's here, you okay with him doing with what you're doing? And
that's false. She did not ask me.
Yeah.
That's false.
You know, the other thing is, Ruben, you were never here. You never came around to any meetings.
Whoa. I was never here when? I've been at every single board meeting, sir, and I think I'm the only one of the old staff that's been here at every single board meeting, so please correct yourself.
No,
I have not missed one board meeting, nor have I missed, excuse me, sir.
All right.
One single monthly meeting with Carrie. You're false. You're
Point of order.
mistaken.
Well, here.
Point of order.
Duty, sir.
Point of order. Call the vote.
Thank you. And that's why you're there and not here.
Trustee Pazmino, there's been a request to call for the roll
I'd say we
call.
call the vote.
And it should be called at this point in time.
I just had a clarification, though. Because you, Attorney Horvath, you had stated that the terms be changed to the village board. It actually says the village board of trustees. So what we're reading here is that it's excluding the mayor from having any say-so for the village manager. Is that correct?
You are voting to eliminate the mayor's appointment, yes.
See? That's what I've been saying, and that's what it is.
No, you said stripping all powers. We're not stripping all powers. We're eliminating your appointment power for the village manager. Let's get that straight.
Let's calm down for 1 second.
You guys have a knack of throwing stuff at the wall and see what sticks. Let's try telling the truth for once.
That's you.
Okay.
Me?
Point of order. I am requesting again that we call the vote.
Call the vote.
Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Trustee Rogers.
No.
Trustee Pazmino.
Aye.
Trustee Laha.
No.
Trustee Fialco.
Aye.
Trustee Consolino.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Shame on all of you. Shame on all of you. not even the HR person's here, right? This is ridiculous.
This is the board's meeting.
That's fine.
Let them have their meeting. Stop interfering.
Stacy.
All of this.
Stacy, go up, sit down, we're good. We're good. Okay, number 7. Is there a motion to approve a resolution number 21-003, a resolution requiring Serafin and Associates Incorporated, Village Attorney Mahoney, Silverman, and Cross LLC, and all village employees to produce documents, emails, correspondence, and work product to Legislation Council for the Village of Homer Glen?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, let's have some discussion on this one. Because as far as I know, how many papers have we given there? 600? 6,000? 10,000?
You know, I want to say something about this too. First of all, I'm going to keep repeating myself, and maybe it's going to start sinking in. We need to start working together. We have to, for the sake of why we're here, okay? If this is something, and there is something, it needs to be talked about, it needs to be, you know, revealed to us, whatever, that's fine. And if there's nothing, there's nothing. But it's getting in the way of us being a working board together. And if these are the steps that we need to take to have transparency, then so be it. I mean, and this is all going on far too long. We need to start getting work done. We need to start moving in the same direction. You know, it's just getting really frustrating.
I don't disagree with you at all. It is frustrating because no one's telling it. Go ahead, Jennifer, just go at it.
Why should I keep beating the dead horse? I'm requesting it the proper way. I've said my piece several times on this subject. I had to FOIA, wait a minute, I had to FOIA the village for this information, and I had to FOIA again for all the information. I still did not get all the completed information. I should not have to FOIA my own village when I am a publicly elected official sitting on this dais.
And I agree. I don't disagree at all.
Apparently I had to.
What have you supplied to her for the FOIA? And what have you supplied to him? And maybe Mr. Lawyer over there, maybe you read it too, and maybe you want to know what the FOIA is all about. So what's she got?
We provided emails between Serafin and staff. And Eric and his firm have done the same. Also provided meetings, documentation of telephone calls and meetings that were held with the firm and staff. And then some of the work product that was a part of most were included in the emails of documents that were provided by Serafin that helped staff present documents in the newsletter and on Facebook. And then also, I believe there was some billing information that...
All right. Eric, what have you have for information on Serafin?
I have provided everything that I have related to the matter.
Okay, and about how many pages is this that we've done this?
I don't know. It's electronic, most of it, so I have no idea.
And how much?
I'm not sure what the number is, Mayor. I know there's at least dozens of emails between staff and Serafin, probably over 100.
And there's absolutely no reason why we wouldn't come forward for it, because all that is to make sure that everyone in this village understands exactly what we're trying to do. There's transparency here. There's always been transparency here. But with the papers that you have, what are you missing? What are you looking to find there?
Eric, I have a question. Is Serafin FOIAble?
No, they're a private company.
They're a private company. Another question.
Just my law firm. Our law firm isn't FOIAble, but nevertheless, I turned over the documents related to this because those are subject to FOIA. So I've turned over everything that I have, and there's a situation, I think, that you think that there's something missing or there's something...
Well, it's what I brought up in the last meeting.
Please.
Go ahead.
You seem to think that there's something out there that exists that doesn't. I have turned over everything that I have. I believe the village has turned over everything it has related to Serafin and Associates.
So you put this on the agenda, so with you putting it on the agenda, what are you looking for? Because if it's out there, we'll make sure you have it. And if that's the case, and I just all the stuff that I've heard, that everything that is FOIAble you've got everything that we had, everything that's been done.
Carrie, instead of me arguing, would you agree that I've probably gotten everything as they're saying that I have?
I don't know if you've gotten everything, but if you asked me a question, Mayor, and I'm going to answer the question, okay? There was an email generated by the interim manager indicating that the bulk of Seraphin's work was completed in November of 2020. Nonetheless, the village continued to pay Seraphin through your law firm through the month of April of 2021. There's been a representation before this village board that Seraphin was hired for litigation support. However, if you read the contract and the scope of services, there's nothing in the contract or scope of services stating that there's any type of litigation support being engaged. Moreover, at the time of the engagement, there was no litigation pending. So I don't know what kind of litigation support could have been provided. Finally, the method and manner in which the payment was made, I find to be somewhat difficult to understand, because this was service provided ostensibly to the village in order to present factual information and data to the residents of this particular community and Homer Township, so they could better understand the issues concerning the operation of the Homer Township Road District and how it should be conducted in the future, okay? It was done for the village. The village was the client in the real true sense of the word, and the village was the payor in the truest sense of the word. But the contract itself was not approved by the village. The expenditure of funds by the expenditure of village funds, a very large expenditure totaling somewhere between $32,000 and $40,000 that I can calculate, was made by funneling the money through the law firm to Seraphin. So I don't know if Trustee Consolino has received everything. This resolution will allow communication directly to Seraphin, not through a FOIA, because Seraphin, if I understand it correctly, was working for the village. Seraphin was a contracted entity paid for by the village, working for the village, and created work product for the village. And I think the trustee is entitled to see whatever they did without the need for going through a FOIA, which we know runs into a complete brick wall if presented to Seraphin. And so that was the methodology employed in creating this resolution. She may have received everything, but I think in order to be, what is the word that's overused often? Transparent? In order to be fully transparent, I believe the resolution will get, the production of documents pursuant to the resolution will get you there. I'm not questioning whether Mahoney and Silverman, or Silverman and Mahoney, excuse me, have produced whatever they have. I'm not questioning whether your village employees have produced whatever they have. But I've seen enough myself to have a question whether everything that Seraphin did for this particular village, subsequent to completing the bulk of its services in November, has been produced. And so I believe that that's the genesis of the trustees' concern, and that's what this board is being asked to vote on.
Ask one more question. Something that Rose Rangers and I listened to today. Eric, can you explain to me why the village was not permitted to advocate for a referendum item?
sorry, I don't think I understand the question.
It's something that her and I both heard you say today, not physically today, but in meeting minutes. Why are we not allowed, why is the village not allowed to advocate or support a referendum item? Only individuals or groups?
In terms of what, electioneering?
Yeah. Well, here, did Seraphim support and advocate as a group for that referendum item in November?
No.
Oh, that's what we paid them, almost $40,000 for. So no, at the end of the day, I don't believe I've received everything that's there. We still have a lot of money that we shelled out from them from January through April 30th. And just so happens to be that 4 of us were elected on April 6th. So I'd like to see more.
At the cost of the taxpayers' dollars.
Didn't mind spending 40 grand, did you?
We'll see how much more it's going to cost.
So it's going to cost, I'm sorry, basically, I mean, just whoever has the paperwork, cough it up. What do we got to hide?
If we're so transparent.
They have. They're both saying that they have.
We have. If I could have a few moments here. The issue surrounding this November date and December, and you're making a deal out of that. First of all, the idea to bring in Seraphim to make sure that the message is clear as to why the village is handling, or basically taking stewardship of the highway district. There's no question about that, and that is exactly what they did. If you recall, there was also, we knew there was going to be litigation because of our discussions with the township. If you recall, I believe it was maybe in November or December that they actually filed the litigation. That was ultimately resolved in
December 9th.
I'm sorry, okay.
December 9th.
Ultimately, that was resolved right after the election. The idea was towards, I think in January or so, there was a discussion regarding whether or not we were going to need Seraphim anymore. They did have a 60-day notice provision in there. So I think we may have spoken on the phone, or maybe it was Carrie, discussed the idea, do we keep them on board just in case with this litigation, if this goes on and we can keep going on there, we know we're going to have them for another 60 days, and we're getting close to springtime as it is. So we're going to keep them until April, which is what the contract was for. And this is when the litigation was ongoing as well.
So where's the work product from January through April 30th?
There wasn't. Trustee Consolino, there was no work.
So we just paid them $4 grand a month after that for nothing.
Well, we had a 60-day buyout, so we would have had to pay them for 2 months. And the idea was, in the event that we need to use them while this litigation is going on, and continue using them, we will keep them on board.
Sorry, I don't believe it.
No.
I guess one more question. Who authorized that? Because the board didn't.
Again, this was a discussion that Carrie and I had. She indicated that she had spoken with the trustees. And I believe there may have been something, you listened to the executive session, there was discussion about it.
No,
correct?
there was no consensus.
Okay. But I believe Carrie indicated that this was the path that she wanted to take. So we did it.
Just for the record, I remember that meeting. Well, can we talk about that? Or? No? Okay, never mind. It was during executive session, the conversation, so it's not, we can't talk about it. But there was a lot of info in there.
And I think that every trustee should listen to it.
I just want it perfectly clear when your village attorney refers to the person Carrie, he's not referring to me.
I apologize.
The old village manager?
Former village manager.
Carrie Freiling, sorry.
Right.
Lawyer number 2, make it easier.
You can call it.
I'd like to call a vote, please.
Can I just get some clarification on exactly what we are voting on? We're just voting on the fact that we want them to produce any documents that they have not already produced.
Yes.
Thank you.
Trustee Rogers?
No.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Laha?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye. Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Motion carries. Still don't know what she wants, so. All right.
Workshop?
Next is just going to be a workshop. Okay. All right, John, you still here?
This John.
Oh, it's John Sawyers. Okay, so you two have the next one, which is workshop, presentation and preliminary discussion of the 2021 tax levy options.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to start off by saying this is just a workshop discussion. There's no action to be taken by the village board tonight. This was discussed at Administration and Finance a few months ago to bring forward some discussion and overview of the budget and the upcoming decision on a tax levy. So this is just kind of a step back to look at village revenues and where we've been over the last 2 years, obviously with the acquisition of the assets from the road district, kind of changed the scope of the budget in many ways, including the implementation of the first village property tax. So we just wanted to kind of give an overview before we have these discussions before the end of the year. So this is just a list of the main sources of revenue that the village is using currently, divided by some of the major funds. The general fund funds most of our operating expenses, including the Public Works Department is part of the general fund. That's fund number 10. That fund is our largest fund, and it uses quite a few different taxes and fees. There's a full list on the next slide. Parks and Recreation Fund, there's been a lot of talk of that recently with the acquisition of the township parks. The main revenue for that fund is the local motor fuel tax, and we also get contributions when developers come into the village. And then the motor fuel tax fund, this comes from the state motor fuel tax. That's different than the local motor fuel tax. That expenses related to that are limited to road projects and things related to the Department of Transportation. And then the home rule sales tax fund, this fund has basically been used to transfer our home rule sales tax to different funds for capital projects. Then this is just a list of the general fund revenues. We'll talk about some of these more in detail in a little bit. The sales tax is the main source of revenue for the village, for the general fund. State income tax and sales tax make up half of that fund's revenue. And then you'll notice number 4 is a reimbursement, road and bridge levy. I'll explain that in a moment. And you'll see number 3 there is property tax. The village approved a $1.5 million property tax levy last December. John, you want to talk about Public Works?
So I was able to get the previous 2 years of data from the road district, and what we did is we used a blended 2-year average with I think it was a 5% COLA on top of it, and that's what the current year's road department's budget is. The way it was funded, it seasons out at around $4 million a year based on the past performance with the road district. And the way the village funded that operation for this current fiscal year was through, well, the $1.5 million property tax levy, plus we also had the $1.4 million or $1.5 million road and bridge levy reimbursement. And then as a one-time funding option, we used $1 million of the motor fuel tax fund to fund the road servicing program. So that's the funding source of it. In my opinion, going forward, road departments are very volatile to fuel and salt and weather. So I like to rely on the trend to go forward, because we may do way better or way worse. What I would like to see going forward is a similar revenue stream. So that's what we need to figure out, is how to fund a $4 million road department. Go ahead.
So this is just kind of an explainer on the road district property tax. I know Commissioner Porfilio touched on the fact that he's working on his tax levy, and we will be in a lot of contact over the next few months because they're so closely related. So per state law, road districts must assess their property tax on all of their residents. So even residents that aren't being served by the road district had to pay the property tax because they're all residents of that township. On a property tax bill, there's 2 line items that come from the Homer Township Road District: the road and bridge levy and equipment levy. The road and bridge levy, 50% of that amount that comes from village limits goes to the village. In the past, the village of Homer Glen has returned our half. It's been in recent years about $1.3, $1.4 million back to the road district to fund their operations because that was part of the IGA. So effectively, that property tax was levied by the road district, received by the village, and paid back to the road district for those services. So it was effectively a pass-through of that property tax for public works services through the road district. So this chart shows the levy. The levies has to be decided by the end of the year, by December 31st of each year. So the levy years shown here, if it's passed in 2019, it will show up on your 2020 tax bill. So you'll notice that the 2019 road district road and bridge levy was $4.2 million, and then equipment levy, that's not split. All of that money goes directly to the road district for equipment or capital use. So due to all the uncertainty with the litigation, oh, sorry, I've got both screens going here. Okay. Dan saw it at least. So due to the uncertainty with the litigation, the village felt the need to levy $1.5 million to fund the public works because this decision was being made in December, actually right around the same time when the lawsuit was filed by the township. The Homer Township Road District also levied just about the normal amount that they typically would. So last year, which was not the original intent of the transfer, the original goal by the village board was to levy a tax and remove the tax from the road district. Since we weren't sure if it was going to be found to be legal at the time, the road district, Commissioner DeVivo, levied about the same amount that he has in past years. It's slightly above, as you'll notice, at $5 million. Now the total levy that was assessed within the township with the Homer Township Road District and the village went up significantly last year because of that. Because of that uncertainty, both taxing bodies implemented a property tax. So that's why that number, $6.5 million, is what the road district levied in addition to what the village levied with the $1.5 million. So what that means going forward, obviously a lot of things have changed since last December. Commissioner Porfilio is working on his levy. It will be significantly lower because their responsibilities are lower. They only have a few employees. So as that levy decreases, we don't get our share of that levy decreases as well. So that's something to keep in mind in order for us to keep maintaining the revenues to fund the public works. This year we received about $1.5 million from our direct levy that said Village of Homer Glen, and about $1.4 million as a result of the levy assessed by the road district. As that levy decreases, our share will decrease of that 50%. I also put in here the Homer Township levied about $315,000 for parks last year. I know we discussed that a little bit with the IGA. That topic of discussion today was the amount of money that the parks are going to cost. So that's just for reference that this is a tax that I believe Supervisor Balich is looking to completely eliminate. But that's an additional cost that the village needs to consider as we decide on a levy and for the budget. As I mentioned earlier, the village must decide on a tax levy by the end of the year. There's a hearing process if the amount's going to go above 5% 5% above what we levied last year, the $1.5 million. So that was just kind of an overview and kind of a preparation that with the road district's role changing and our public works role, now that there's more clarity than there was last December, the decision will need to be made by the village board. We didn't want to get into specifics about what those options are. John and I are available to meet with trustees to go over options and kind of what ideas we're kicking around. This is just an idea to publicly discuss and kind of provide that background of and some context for when that decision has to come, because obviously it's an important decision for the village board. So, John, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Well, I just look at it as an aggregate. The township and the village levies should be looked at in total, and our goal is to maintain the state funding that the village and the road district have had in the past and get that to work in the future without an increase in the aggregate. That is the goal of finance.
So can I ask a question?
Yes.
So why wasn't this done prior to us taking on the road district? I mean, did we know exactly where we needed to be in order to sustain the road district?
I think that the time was a problem with the levy, right?
Do you mean why did we wait until, I'm sorry, can you?
Well, as I recall, in some of the meetings that I went to with Carrie Freeling here, some of the workshops, she basically stated that there was not going to be enough money, even with the 1.5 million municipal tax. So where did we think at that point in time that we were going to get the rest of the money to sustain it?
We got it from motor fuel tax. We got $1 million from motor fuel tax to do the road surfacing.
No, I understand that, but we also knew that the road district, once it left the township, that the levy was going to be decreased. So where were we planning to get the money?
Well,
we're just going to levy that.
Raise taxes.
No, we'll get it in aggregate. The village is going to replace the township's levy.
So we're going to take money out of the general fund? Is that what you're saying?
No, I think what John's trying to say is that this property tax is already in effect from the Homer Township Road District.
But 1.5 million is not enough.
From what I understood, that was only for operating costs. It didn't include everything.
And
it was barely enough.
And that back in last December, the road commissioner levied the full amount, so we knew that the village was going to receive that share of the property tax that was about $1.4 million. So that, along with the $1.5 million, made up about $3 million, and then the rest was from the motor fuel tax.
Okay, I have a question, just because, we know what's going on, obviously, because we're doused in it, right? But
yep.
For the public, people watching on TV, I just wanted to make it perfectly clear so it's crystal, right? So at the end of the day, you're saying that there is no need to raise levies or raise taxes because of what the township is now going to not levy and we're going to levy?
That's our goal. That is our goal, to maintain that funding source and not increase above and beyond the aggregate of those two levies from the previous year.
Do you think we'll make that goal?
That's my goal. That's what I'm going to try to do.
You're the numbers guy.
Here's the way road districts work, and the difference between a road district and a public works. We only have a fixed amount of money to work with. That means that you may not be able to buy as many trucks. You may not be able to pave as many roads. You have a fixed amount of money to work with. And that's the way villages run public work departments.
And that was no...
And because, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Fuel is up sky high. When we go around for that next round of resurfacing, it's going to be sky high. It's a function of asphalt and fuel are tied together. So it's just the way we're going to have to manage it going forward. I think, we could, it could turn around. We could do, it could be, we might be able to do more roads. I think that we had talked earlier, I think that we're hoping to run it as efficiently or more efficiently and get some savings. But I'm working with trended data from the road district. This is all, we haven't gone through a winter yet. The village has not gone through a winter yet. So we have very uncertain data.
I'm sorry, I got one more.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
One more. So the workshop right now, is basically a discussion on what we're doing not to increase the levy, or kind of like we're like a state of where we're at now? Is that what this?
Well, I think we're kind of prepping you for what's coming, which is a bunch of numbers coming your way on different proposals on how do we fund the Public Works Department. There's going to be several different scenarios.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
John and Matt, can you clarify something for me? And I sincerely mean this when I say this. I'm not trying to be political. I want to clarify for people, because there's a huge misunderstanding about that municipal tax. We have current and we have former board members that physically told people out loud that this was going to be temporary. And I need you guys to explain that this municipal tax is never going away, and it will probably increase over the years, correct?
It will increase with the decrease in the township levy, the township road district levy.
But it was never meant to be a temporary tax.
Flipping, they were doing all the work and we were paying them. Now we're doing the work, so the levies are going to flip.
No, that transparency needs to be out there for people, because there are people still under the misunderstanding that this is, oh no, it's just a temporary tax. It's not.
And Trustee Consolino, I agree with that last statement. In all likelihood, it will remain. I think.
No, people need to be aware of this and why. And yes, I can understand what John is explaining, but at the same time, this is not what our community expected. And instead of hiding it or burying it, people need to be aware of what is probably coming their way, and that no, it's never going away.
And at least that bump from last year, where both taxing bodies levied 1.5 million and the full, that's temporary. It was not the goal at the time, but we were kind of forced that. So that was an unfortunate reality for the taxpayers, that it had to go up so much. I think Trustee Pasmino was trying to get, and Trustee Reiners were trying to get to why the levy was only $1.5 million for the village, if it wasn't going to cover everything.
Yeah.
I think the concern was, if the village was going to levy everything that we thought we needed, and then the road district did the same, then that would have been even more of a bump. It would have been a huge hit to the pocketbooks of taxpayers, because both taxing bodies would have been, doing a full tax at the same time.
Which they did in the last year. There was 2 line items from each taxing body.
Correct. I'm just saying that if ours was higher to cover what the actual cost was ourselves, then it would have been that much higher on the residents.
I have just one more, I'm sorry. In regards to the money that is still owed because of the road district to the other townships, how does that affect all this? And are we working on that yet?
The current budget has a number in there for the payments to Lockport and New Lenox. So that doesn't necessarily, it shouldn't affect the levy going forward or the next year's budget. I know Eric has been in contact with Ben Benson at Lockport. We do need to get some more information based on the new IGA for what that cost will look like based on the value of the assets that we now currently have, because a few items went back to the road district. So we still need to straighten that out, but it shouldn't affect the next year's budget.
Thank you.
And one more question, I can't remember, you guys might have talked about it already. So ultimately, everything transferred, a year into it, we're looking at a budget for the public works of approximately how much per year?
Was that over 6 million? Yeah.
Operating costs were around $3.5 million. That doesn't include capital outlay, which the road district spent anywhere from $500,000 to $700,000 annually on. So it's about approximately a $4 million department annually.
$4 million and okay, we start at 1.5, gradually it'll go up. Township's going to put in, we're going to get what the township was levying. So we're saying that we could stay within that range, give or take.
Well, a couple slides back, you saw that the township levied $5.5 million or $5 million. That's going to go down significantly. Of course, that's the whole township. We only represent 65% of that. So we'll have to work with the road commissioner, and that they have sufficient revenue to do what they need to do, and we'll plug the the levy amount, the goal being to try to maintain that level and not go above it. That's the way I'd like to go forward.
Can you guys provide us with an email with the PowerPoint for Trustee Fialko and the rest of us, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the workshop? All right. Is there any old business?
Yes, sir, actually, I do have something. I wasn't sure how to present this, but as everybody knows, has been reading out there, our, man, I thought I printed it. The ordinance that was passed on the ATVs and the motorized vehicles, I think we should revisit that.
Yes.
And I'd like to put that for discussion in the next agenda. Maybe come up, by then, we'll come up with a few tweaks here and there, and maybe...
Agree.
I'm going to be meeting with Public Safety next week, so we're already going to try and discuss that a little bit, and then I'll get back to you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, there was a lot of pushback on that.
We meant nothing but the best. Sorry, guys, we all make mistakes, but I think we should tweak that. And to his credit, Trustee Fialko voted no on that, and now we see why. So.
Thanks, Ruben and Jen.
Any other thing on old business? Anything on new business?
On new business, I wanted to see if we could possibly, if it's legally, if we can do this, request that we change, if there's an ordinance or policy, if we can change with executive session meeting minutes, when you have to review them, if we can go down to one person instead of two present. A few of us discussed that, and we think it might be easier as long as it's legally able for us to do. I had talked to Kerry before the meeting. He didn't seem to know of any order. Kerry, was there anything that you? But he'll look into it for us to see.
I didn't find anything in the Open Meetings Act statute that mandated that two elected officials be present when you're reviewing the tape of a executive session. I did not find anything in the statute.
Thank you. So if we could do that for the next meeting and motion it up.
If you don't mind, I'd like to look into that also, because I believe I specifically asked that, and that's the request I got back. So that's information I could provide for you, which I believe I was going to do when we discussed the executive session minutes a few months ago. I might even still have it right on my desk after today's meeting.
But yeah, I think it just, if we can do it, it would be nice. If we can't do it, we can't do it. But if we can do it, it would
I'm sure you can all understand the purposes of having two instead of one.
I know. Thank you.
Any other new business? Do we have anything in executive session?
No, I don't believe so, Your Honor.
No, I
Okay.
think so.
Then I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Good night.
Yeah, let's get out of this ice box.
I love it.
It's
good.
freezing in here. Okay, who's in charge of the heat in this building?
I was worried that I was talking to